who is joining us this evening for our program Town Hall. Tonight we want to do a quick check-in for where we are. I'm going to talk briefly about kind of the work and the conversations that have happened from an administration level about our program and curriculum from the moment I arrived to the opening of our school in a week and a half. Or a little less than a week and a half now, and then turn it over to Michelle and Holly, who will be walking us through much more details. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. If you didn't, our hope is that we will be able to get through our slides in a reasonable time to be able to answer as many general questions as possible. As always, if you have a more specific question as it pertains to your child or your family, please reach out to myself, Michelle, and Holly so that we can answer those to the best of our ability. So we will jump in and get started. All right, campus reopening process and update, where we are now. As you know, the County of San Mateo was put on the monitoring list about a little over a week ago. And what that means is that the schools in all of San Mateo County, in fact, all of the Bay Area, because we're all on the monitoring list, are unable to open their campuses to students from kindergarten all the way up through high school unless they obtain a waiver. Various counties have released waivers of the application, and what happened for those counties that had been on the monitoring list prior to our county is that in the middle of their waiver process they were stopped, and now there's also a state level waiver. I should mention, San Mateo County has not released the waiver application. So where we are right now is we're on the monitoring list and there is not the application to apply for a waiver yet. That has not really stopped us and our team. We want to be as prepared as possible. So we collected waivers from all the other counties we could find in California. We cross-referenced the information that was wanted on the waiver. We also have the state guidelines, and we made sure that our reopening plan has all of those robust and very microscopic details, including testing and contract tracing, scenario building out for cases. All of those things are ready to go. We have a reopening plan. It's being done, the final draft is being approved this week, and we will be linking it in this Sunday's wave. Nothing in it should be shocking or different than the reopening plan we presented at the beginning of the summer. But as you know, lots of things have changed. Lots of new beliefs, protocols, procedures, guidelines have been enhanced since the beginning of the summer, and our plan reflects all of those. The idea behind the plan, and in talking to the 11 other independent school heads in San Mateo County, is that our anticipation of the San Mateo County waiver is basically submitting this plan and maybe some other details. So where we are right now is that we are going to start school in distance learning for grades K through 8. And when and if a waiver becomes available to apply, we will be applying to the waiver. I will say I had a personal meeting with other independent school heads with Nancy McGee. Nancy McGee is our county superintendent. She has had many personal calls with the Office of Education at the state level. And from the state level down, they do want small independent schools to open, show best practices, guide the way. The state and the county are just not in an area where they are ready to do that. So we are in the queue in a little bit of a holding pattern until we go there. What does that mean? As you may notice, as you drive around town, all of childcare facilities, camps such as Boys and Girls Clubs fall under those kind of facilities, the local swim school, and child care centers, our preschools, are able to remain open, including JK, anything younger than kindergartners. I don't make the laws, I don't make the rules, I don't have any assumptions on on any of that. I know it is a huge burden to our parents that have kindergartners versus a JKer. That's really where we are at this moment. But we are very actively involved with our colleagues in the county and in other areas, as well as CIS, which is the California Association of Independent Schools, with how to best proceed as a California school, a Bay Area school, and a San Mateo school. So that's where we are. Kindergarten through 5th grade will all begin with distance learning. Two ways that we may be able to offer in person will be either to have the waiver application released, we apply, it goes to the county, it goes to the county education department, then it goes to the county health department, and then it goes to the state, and then it gets approved. My personal opinion is that's probably not going to be a 24-hour turnaround, all of those things. And then we are granted the permission to begin opening up classes to safely have kids on campus. The other option is we, as a county of San Mateo, get off the waiver list, the monitoring list for 14 days. We have decreases in cases. And that would be the other way that school would have in-person instruction. The middle school students do not qualify under the waiver. So the waiver is only for grades K through 5. So the middle school students will all be in distance learning for 6 weeks, no matter what. Because that is just giving us a really good marker of where we are going to be. It may be extended depending on our status. All of this is very new and changing and super challenging and frustrating to not know what it's going to look like. We feel your frustration, we feel the same frustration, and we're just trying to make the best decisions as they present in front of us. What I will say is there are a few things, and I want to be really transparent and honest about this, that we are able to do. So JK will be able to come on campus. So there will be our youngest learners who have never been on our campus in their small cohorts on our campus. We are also able to provide a small, stable cohort for our faculty members' children. I can't stress to you that this is essential for you to have a teacher for your child. Just as the ripple effect for everyone else, if we aren't able to provide that cohort, we have teachers that would need to stay home and guide their own children through distance learning. So you will maybe see, if you drive by campus, a small cohort of children that are in a stable group. The state released this. This is a huge relief for us. We were very, very worried about our teachers that have students. When we have talked to Nancy and state and county officials, we are also exploring the option of opening up small pods for our frontline essential workers. We know we have families that have police officers, doctors, everything essential to our county and our local community staying safe. They are realizing that that is a huge hiccup in the plan of closing all schools, that if these children can't go anywhere, then we want to make sure that there are doctors when we go to the hospital, and all the other businesses that I'm not mentioning are included in that list. We're exploring that option. They're trying to actively work out what that would look like, and they've yet to release that. Coming up in this week's wave and next week's wave is going to be a lot of really important documentation that we've spent the whole summer writing, and to be honest, rewriting when there's a new proclamation made by a local official or a state official, and then we rewrite again and meeting. And so you'll see a reopening plan. It's very robust. I think it's about 50 pages. I encourage you to read through it. It gives lots of detail about everything that will happen if and when we can open school, whether it's right now or a little bit further down the line. Our handbooks will be coming out. So we have created an addendum for both our faculty handbook, but more importantly for you, for our family handbook. Those handbooks will come out and they will require a signature that you read them. It is very crucial. It is COVID related. We have to prove that, whether it's distance learning or not, to the state. And we also will be releasing a community pledge. Lots of people asked about the community pledge. The community pledge is encouraged and will be being released to almost every single independent school in the nation. The community pledge is not a law binding thing. I am not going to be monitoring or playing police if someone does something and someone sees it on social media, but it's a good faith agreement that in order to make our local community, our Seacrest community, as safe as possible, we're all pledging to follow the basic CDC guidelines outlined to help reduce the spread of COVID. So that's where we are in a nutshell, and it may change. Not to put humor into it, but I'm using humor to cope with the fact that it most likely will change over the next few weeks and months, as it has done since June. So we are constantly revisiting. What I will tell you is we're really, really excited for school to start, even if school's starting a little bit differently. There are a lot of back to school things that I want you to really be able to note, because it's really important to start building that community back up for your own students, for ourselves as parents. So there's a lot of things to digest on this calendar. Really briefly, this week, tomorrow I'll be meeting with the 7th and 8th graders, but this week I've been able to have Zoom sessions with every single grade level. It's been amazing. I can tell that we have not been on Zoom all summer because we have already some Zoom wiggles, but we will work those out, and it's just been wonderful to see the faces of the kids at Seacrest. It's filled me with just so much enthusiasm throughout the week. Tomorrow evening, we have a new family orientation luau Zoom to welcome all of our new families with our faculty. Next week is our in-service for all of our teachers. We have a very robust agenda that is capturing lots of topics, from COVID training to how and what we teach and collaboration. And I'm really excited. At the end of the week, I will summarize it for you in next week's wave, all of the really amazing learning and teaching that's happening on the teacher level next week. Our JK and kindergarten camp will be next week. We have pinned a save the date for next Thursday, the 20th, called Here We Go Town Hall. Right now, I am looking at a post-it on my desk that says, "Here we go, question mark." We held this because what we've learned over the summer is that there is a lot of new information to tell you on a weekly basis. And we don't know exactly what the agenda will be. Maybe it'll be me just saying, yay, we're ready to go, nothing new. But we wanted to hold that space in case there was new things to articulate right before school started. Next Friday are Meet Your Teacher Zooms for the kids. They'll all get to log in and meet their teacher. The calendar and all of those links are in the Sunday waves. The 24th, that is the day that we will hopefully see your smiling eyes behind a mask. That's the day that you all drive onto campus with a very streamlined, organized schedule that will be released in this Sunday's wave to come pick up your child's backpack of learning. They will be getting their device all the way kindergarten, all the way up through 8th grade. They'll be getting essential curriculum, supplies, some fun treats, all of those things. So that is a really, really important day. Our schedule will be released on Sunday for you to come by and get your children's stuff. On Tuesday is a mandatory class orientation. This schedule is also going to be in this Sunday's wave. This is the opportunity for you to open that device, charge it, and sit next to your child while the teacher talks us all as parents and students through what distance learning is going to be and how your child accesses their teacher and their class and their learning. And that is really, really important. Even if we had distance learning in the spring, it was a very short period of time, and we want to make sure we're all on the same page. On Wednesday, the 26th, is our first day of school. It's screens open, kids logging in, meeting their teachers, morning meetings, and I'll be hosting a back to school coffee Zoom for us all to get to chat about how easy it's been to have our kids with us 24/7 for the last 5 months total. And cheers to that. Now they're at least distance learning with another adult besides just us. So look forward to that. Okay, so my introduction to Michelle and Holly goes as this. From the moment that I was able to step onto campus and meet with these two unbelievable educators that are really visionary into not only what the program has been at Seacrest, where they see the program can go, we've been having this really amazing conversation about what opportunity does COVID provide. We've all talked about that we want to end 2020 with that 2020, hindsight is 2020. We want to end this year feeling that it was not for naught, that there was real learning and opportunities taken out of it. So Michelle coined a great phrase that this is our great Etch-a-Sketch moment. We've shooken it up. If you're not familiar with the inner workings of school, apply them to any organization you worked at where you've heard the answer, why do we do that? I mean, the question, why do we do that? And the answer, because we always have. That is prevalent in everything we do, and especially true to schools. So why is the schedule that way? Because that's how school schedules are. Why are teachers this way? Because that's how it is. And that goes into, everything. What COVID provides us is to ask the why and to say, well, we can't do it that way. So let's reimagine what the best way to do it would be. Now, some of those best ways aren't really the best way because we're under the confines of COVID. So the best way we believe is in person, kids without masks, being able to touch and be with their teachers and use manipulative. So we have that to deal with. But outside of that, there's a lot of asking, but what's the best way for kids to learn if they have to be behind a screen? What's the best way to set up a schedule if we have to do distance learning, or if we have to do it in person, but with a lot of limitations due to COVID? So we've actually been able to really etch-a-sketch our traditional program, schedule, curriculum, things like that, and have a really creative and very collaborative and fun summer for educators. So any of you educators out there, we've really geeked out in asking very cool questions and saying, we don't have to really worry about if anyone says that's how we've always done it. This year is never how we've always done it in every way. So why not? And that's been exhilarating, I have to tell you. It's kept me really, really my head in the game. So we've talked a lot on a faculty level and an admin level, not only about curriculum and content, but skills and knowledge. And we have a little internal mantra right now going on with our faculty that it's not about content. It's not about content. It's about skills. We don't care if we cram an entire history book into your child's head via Zoom, because we know that, frankly, that's going to add up to nothing. But we do know if we have skill sets, if we want our kids to critically think, if we want them to investigate deeper, if we want them to know how to grasp knowledge and how to reiterate knowledge in various platforms, if we want them to be able to use their own voice for advocacy for their learning, for sharing out of their learning, those skill sets that they will walk away from a very challenging year can really transform the rest of their learning for life. And we truly, truly believe that. When kids feel that knowledge is something they have ownership of and they develop robust learning and relearning and sharing out skills, we're setting them up for such great success. So we're approaching this year through our program and through our academics in a very different way than we have traditionally. And it's really, really exciting. We're talking a lot about what is essential. I think we've all talked about that, right? We had our moments where, and I've remissed with lots of friends and family, actually with my old head of school, where we remember the day that we took all the faculty at the end of February into the 7th grade classroom and we said, look, Italy's shutting down. We're probably going to have to go into shutdown mode for 2 weeks. And everyone thought, that's crazy. And we said, pack up your stuff. And the amount of stuff, I would use a different word, but the amount of stuff that we packed up and had parents take home because everything at that moment seemed so essential to the inner workings of a school classroom. And what we learned from the spring and what we learned over the summer as we're learning to live with less, as we're learning to reevaluate everything, is there really are essentials. And the essentials at Seacrest to students learning is personalized, differentiated, them knowing their teacher, them knowing that their teacher knows them well enough to know how to push them, how to have moments that are easy so they feel those early on successes, how to push them harder to find that grit, that is in a safe community space where kids can really contribute. We know that these are the things that are essential for the future of success. So know that that view and that lens has been on our minds as we've planned all of our distance learning and in-person learning with the confines of COVID going forwards. Lastly, we have asked ourselves, how do we engage students and personalize learning experience through a computer? And I can't tell you we are masters of it. We have lots of ideas. We're committed to 6-week increments still with those 3-week moments of pause where we're gonna survey you guys as parents, students, and teacher and say, what are we learning? What are we learning? There is no school out there that has mastered the engagement of students and personalized learning through a computer that's a traditional school. There may be online programs that have always been online, but we are asking ourselves and challenging ourselves to do that every day. And so we're asking you to meet us in our enthusiasm for exploration around how we approach that, to meet us with the moment that we know there'll be moments that we don't get it right, but we've committed to pausing, reflecting, revising, and revamping, and we will be doing that throughout the year. So, am I talking about this? Sorry. We're super prepared. Okay. I can talk about this. Okay, so starting with a focus on building community and routines. It's pretty obvious. If you have not been on a school campus, doesn't matter if your child is a kindergartner, all the way up to when your child goes to college, every faculty member is talking about when they get here, how do we teach them, how to walk in a hallway, where to go to the restroom, where they get lunch. Now, the vocabulary used is a little bit different when they're in kindergarten versus when they're in college, but there is a reason why when they go to college, there's still massive orientations. This is how you use your swipe card. We always have massive orientations at the beginning. Just because we're doing distance learning does not mean establishing community and routines goes out the door. In fact, it's harder than ever because there's a lot of things out of our control. Your children will all be in a very different environment, and the only thing that they have similar is a virtual room. And so creating those consistencies and routines is vitally important. So you'll see a lot as you look over your children's shoulder in Zoom or Google Meets in the first few weeks of talking about routine, how to, assignments, assessments, where to access, what happens if you get logged off, community building exercises, because we know that they're vitally important. I just want to mention, it is very, very different to go into distance learning in March after your children have been with their teachers, with their routine, with their norm, knowing everyone from August all the way to March. Starting fresh for any student is very, very different, and we're very cognizant of it, and we want to be really mindful of it. So the first few weeks of school they should be devoted to community building and digital competency and making sure that all of us are really on the same page. So we're going to ease into the school year. So know that. So if you want to email me, after the first 3 days to tell me it's not academic, I will absolutely respond with, we are easing into the school year to make sure that everyone really is focusing on the community, setting students and families up for success, clarifying roles, knowing when we're supposed to be on and when we're not supposed to be on. We want to create classroom norms. We know that it is hard for kids to engage online. They may not have the same confidence to raise their hand as they would in a classroom setting. We need to create that safe community so that participation feels encouraged and shared by all. Designing engaging activities, making connections, all of that is really the focus of the first few weeks. It's purposeful, it's meaningful, it's well thought out, not only by Michelle and Holly, but by all your teachers. They are, right now my email box is filled with reply alls to everyone. Did you see this amazing icebreaker? What if we started with this? How do we make this connection? How do we get the kids excited and engaged? How do we make the start of year fun has been a question we have asked in every meeting, because we know that it being fun is maybe the most important thing on your kids' mind right now. And they've had maybe not the most fun summer. And we want to try to make sure that they feel actively engaged and excited about a year with some things that are not too exciting. So know that that is going to be the start of the year. And even if things, maybe, I'm speaking to you middle school parents, if things seem a little silly, if your kid rolls their eye and says it's lame, it may be a little lame. Smile and show enthusiasm. Help us out. We're trying here. It takes a lot to get that buy-in when you're doing it digitally. And so, yeah, that's where we are, and that's where we're starting.
Great, thank you, Lauren. Wonderful to have the chance to talk to you all. As Lauren shared, we've had a summer of planning and reiterating and changing. I think this is the first year where I actually went through the process of making 5 master schedules, which if any of you are into scheduling will know it's quite a task. Just in trying to think of what new information is available and adjusting and adapting to what's going on. What I'm really pleased to share with you today is all the thought that we put into launching a new and improved distance learning program here at Seacrest. You've heard me say it many times before, and I will say it again because I have a friend who is a curriculum developer who runs some of the polished distance learning programs that Lauren was referencing. And all people that work in online curriculum wanted to reiterate and scream when people said distance learning. What we did in the spring was emergency remote learning. It was a fire drill. We all grabbed our things, as Lauren was describing, and literally packed up our cars, drove home. It was responding to a global pandemic and a situation that, you know, just when you've been in education or any career, and I'm just going to say 20 plus years, you can do the math, you know, you start to feel like, oh, kind of been there, done that. This year really turned everything upside down. So it's been both exhausting and exhilarating because we really here at Seacrest focus on the students and the student experience. So we have been spending all summer long reflecting on what we can do to try to make this year feel very engaging and meaningful for your children. So what is that going to look like in distance learning? I went through probably the same experience that you will share talking to your children, and maybe some disappointment when some of them who were anticipating coming to campus and reconnecting with friends and teachers in person were told that we're going to be starting the year in distance learning. And I know some of you reached out to me to say, how can I talk to my children and support them through this? We really want to mirror a positive attitude, and really our mindset and what we reflect and project. Our children, we know, are emotional barometers. They're just going to absorb that and reflect it back at us. So we want to start with a really positive mindset. There's been some exciting things that we can do with distance learning and connect in different ways. So hopefully your children will see and feel that this year come through. What I can promise you is the same conversation was had with the teachers. They were feeling so excited to see their students again, so excited to maybe be back in person. And now they've also been working on how can I take that enthusiasm and excitement and translate it to online. So one of the things that we did this summer and this week, teachers, the entire lower school team has been immersed in a Global Online Academy workshop. We look to people who do very high quality professional online programs, teaching and education in this way in normal times, and have been doing it for years, and look to them for answers about what we could do and what practices we could borrow that would be best practice in our program. So very excited to see the enthusiasm. I met with the teaching team this morning. We were all sharing our positive takeaways. And as Lauren said, lots of exciting ideas about how to make distance learning fun, meaningful, and engaging for your children. So what is it going to look like? As you know, we're going to be keeping in distance learning with the schedule that was shared earlier this summer, with Monday through Thursday being a more synchronous learning time, and Friday being a more student-directed learning time. So parts that are going to be happening consistently, kindergarten through 5th grade, is that every child will start the day in a morning meeting at 9 a.m. We wanted to really simplify things for parents with multiple children so that you have one consistent start time. So that's always going to be the start time for school when we are in full distance learning. Children will use morning meeting as a time to socially connect. Teachers are really excited to bring some social emotional learning. We're very concerned with student health and wellness. We know that these are anxious times we're living in, and also being in distance learning can feel a little isolating for some children. So we really want to take time to build those social connections. We're also very excited to have a very predictable routine and schedule for synchronous academic instruction. We will have in 2nd through 5th grade, a whole group lesson, very akin to the way we teach in the classroom. We have a workshop model that we teach where the teacher teaches a small short mini lesson that is giving children guidance through an activity. They're going to share and model what we're going to be doing and introduce the concept and walk children through it. They'll have some try-its and practice together. Then the children will be set off to do the assignment for the day. Instead of turning them loose, we heard a lot of feedback from parents, many of you quite reflective and authentic and honest, and saying, hey, look, I'm a parent, but I'm not a teacher. I'm really discovering I'm not a teacher in this dynamic with my child. I'm really struggling with what to do when they're sitting down and helping them through the assignment. So what we're really thrilled about is we have structured in small group time for your children to work in groups of 3 or 4 with the teacher daily, Monday through Thursday, for both math and literacy instruction. We're really excited because that is what is at the heart of our instructional program at school. And it's during that time that the teacher wears more of a coach and facilitator hat. So your child is able to use them and really drive the learning. They're working alongside each other. So I know a few of you reached out about screen fatigue and worrying about more synchronous time, while others of you had reached out to me and said, we absolutely need more synchronous time for routines. It's really hard to build that ourselves. Our goal with this schedule is to have a predictable routine throughout the day that keeps children engaged in school. So they start with that morning meeting. They have the whole group and small group instruction throughout the day. In kindergarten and 1st grade, we really learned that kids have a hard time. While they like socializing in the larger groups, they really can have a hard time paying attention to a lesson in a whole group. So what we'll be doing is giving whole small group both instruction and guided practice. So we will have many multiple time periods throughout the day that the students will be working in a small group, again, 3 to 5 max with the teacher, and the teacher will be teaching the lesson multiple times throughout the day. Now, To make all of this possible, the teachers are going to be team teaching this year. And this is something we've done for many years in lower school in 4th and 5th grade with great success. Many of you who've had students come through the program are familiar with that model. We also, last year, tried this in 3rd grade. And what we found when we shifted to distance learning is that those teaching teams and those students felt more successful because they had a clear person to go to for each subject matter. The teachers felt like they could have more autonomy and creativity and have time to go deeper because they weren't trying to spread themselves thin and teach everything. So we really know that that essential learning in lower school is a lot of those essential math concepts and literacy foundations that they need to carry forward. And we wanted teachers really looking through that lens to make sure every child is getting the differentiation and attention they need. We also know that when you're on a Zoom call, it's refreshing to hear different voices from time to time. So we heard back from the students that they really enjoyed it, changed things up having different teachers that they worked with during the day. This is always also going to help us when we return back to campus. We know that we're going to be coming back in phases. We already know that some of you, even if we were able to return to campus in September, have indicated that you would prefer that your child stay in distance learning for the first trimester. So we need to be able to be more fluid with groups. And this way the children can feel comfortable with both teachers, and we can really leverage and mix up those social groupings online, which is going to be a nice variety for the kids and create more connection points. We will also have afternoon reading and social studies science and social studies investigations. Those will be very exciting times and highly engaging in the afternoons. Morning movement breaks, we're going to really encourage health and wellness. So there'll be some asynchronous suggestions for things that kids can do in between to get off the screen and get up and moving on the day. And daily live PE class and a daily live enrichment class for children to join. We know that last year, that enrichment and PE were optional, but we also know that it's a really important part of our program and something that is beneficial for the children. So we really wanted to scale down the enrichment and PE and include it in the school day so that everyone can participate. In addition, we'll end each day with a closing circle that sort of sets the tone of the beginning and end of school. So it's a signal for your children that they can take a break. The day has ended. And in lower school, we're committing from Monday through Thursday to really not have homework. The way that we've structured the day, the children should be able to complete their work during the school day. And we really want them to unplug when the school day is done and take a break. One of the nice things about having the Flex Friday is that children are going to be able to catch up on anything they maybe haven't finished or need to complete on that day. So the whys are very important for us as educators. It's not just about the what. So we really wanted you to understand that this was important to us, not just to make a predictable routine and structure that would make the transition between school and distance learning much easier for your children, but also we as educators are all about equity. So we saw that there was a huge variation of the experience children were having in distance learning when we were relying predominantly on parents to lead it. So we're going to need you to be our sort of assistants at home in getting your children a nice place to work, setting up a workspace. We're going to give you some guidance and support at the beginning of the year and setting that up and making sure that you have that predictable schedule and routine, but the learning is going to be left up to us. So we're here to support your children through the learning so that you can wear your parent hat and not have to wear a teacher hat as well at home. So just to give you an example, and I know this is a little maybe overwhelming, the day is all about balance. We're really trying to balance both those synchronous times that we can engage with students and the asynchronous times where they'll have time to do their own thing and maybe unplug. So if you see, we start every day with morning meeting at 9. I'm giving you an example of a first grade schedule and wanted to contrast that with the 4th grade schedule so that you could just get a chance to see the difference. Very similar, again, we're really trying to build some common routines. But in first grade, you'll notice where it says group 1, group 2, group 3, these are those small group lessons. Your children will not be participating in all 3. They will just be working in 1, but they'll be working in 1 in a group of 3 to 5, which is going to be, give them a lot of access to the teachers. I led a lot of workshops with kids and meeting with them in Zoom over distance learning in the spring. And what we found out is, especially with our youngest learners, many of them lost their voice and got quiet in the big group meetings. But when you got them online with just 2 or 3 or 4 of you, they had so much to say and loved getting that chance to communicate. A big part of the kindergarten and first grade standards and these essential skills are oral language development. So we really want them to have a chance to have their voice be heard. And we know that we can do that much better in a small group setting. So to give you an example, your child would be participating in one of these groups. And after they've worked with the teacher, they may have a little bit of work to finish. When they were done, they would be participating in whatever the morning movement options were and having a healthy snack, then getting to chance to participate in online physical education. These again, I would be happy for some of you who are interested. I know we all have concerns, I do myself, about our children and screen time, but we know not all screen time is equal. So when we talk about screen time where children are up and moving and guided and listening to instructions and following along, that's very different than maybe time just spent watching television passively. The same is true, you know, when your child is engaged in talking to their grandparent over FaceTime. It's a very different type of screen time. So we want to be mindful of that as well. So they'll get a chance to get up and moving. They will also get a chance to participate in enrichment class. These are fun and engaging chances for them to practice different skills and mirror some of the things that they're probably missing from their school life here on campus. At the lunch break, that is asynchronous time on their own. And again, we're mirroring the math and literacy groups in the afternoon. So you have the 2 teachers, again, one leading math groups, one leading literacy groups, and that small group instruction where they're guiding the kids through the learning for that day and the activity. In the afternoon, there's whole group time in first grade for science and social studies inquiries. We still want to bring that project-based learning. We're going to try to really have a lot of living, get up and get outside in your backyard opportunities. So you'll see a lot more incorporated active learning incorporated into the day because the teachers really want to bring that value that we have in our classroom. And again, splitting that time with some high quality read alouds sometimes for the teachers to teach them reading comprehension skills in there. Just like we would at school, story time is often children's favorite time. And we've actually found that it seems to be one of the most successful things we were able to do in spring with some of our interactive story times with children. And I hope many of you were able to tune in this week with Miss Miller as she was sharing some of she and her children's favorite stories with the students. It was very, very fun to watch. And then that closing meeting. Very similar schedule in 5th grade, and this is very emblematic, or 4th grade, my apologies. It's very symbolic of what we're going to be doing in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So we're ratcheting up the academic time a bit to be developmentally appropriate for the kids. So they're going to have a whole group lesson that's more of what the teacher is guiding them through. So this is more teacher directed, but again, those student directed guided learning groups to support it. And that's where the teachers are going to do a lot of assessing where students are at, checking in and giving some differentiated practice. So they're going to be able to work to give extra challenge to those students who need it and extra support also to those students who need it. Similar, where they will take turns with that, and a very similar paced day. One thing I wanted to point out is that in the afternoon, for 2nd through 5th grade, there is an independent work time and teacher help desk. That will be where the teacher will be online and available, and the kids will have the link to pop in whenever they need to have one-on-one check-ins. The teachers will also be able to give to invite students to come talk to them later that day if they need to check in one-on-one. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what online distance learning is going to look like in lower school. You may be wondering, and many of you had questions about Friday. What does Friday look like? So we felt it was important that on Fridays we continue the ritual of setting the tone of a school day. I know I was talking to several parents who said just that morning meeting and that touch base with the teacher reminds kids it is a school day. We're right next to the weekend, but this day is also going to be a lot more flexible and a lot more student directed, which is a part of our program that's very important that we wanted to capture in a distance learning environment. So they'll start the day in class morning meeting where they'll be doing community building activities, a lot of fun social connections. I got the chance to drop in a lot last year on the kindergarten Friday morning dance parties, which were always a lot of fun. So those times that they can connect and meet with their teacher. It's also going to be a time where the teachers can help set the students up for success in the self-directed part of the day. So we are creating student learning choice boards. The teachers will be talking to you more about that later, but where there will be a lot of options for things that you can do that are learning experiences. And it will be your child's opportunity to kind of choose your own adventure for the day. Some of them may be getting out, taking a walk to the beach and making collections of 10. Lots of different active learning opportunities with children having choice over the way they want to learn. We also are adopting several new personalized learning platforms. Many of you got to experience LexiaCore last year. These are self-guided programs that help enhance literacy and math skills. We'll be introducing a new math program that aligns with our MAP testing in grades 3 through 8 this year, and it gives a personalized learning path for children's learning. We're really excited to offer this. And we'll be able to then give students a little opportunity to get that personalized learning practice right at their level, whether it's giving them some challenge work well beyond or helping to reinforce some skill gaps. We know there's going to be some skill gaps from last year with the disruption. So we're grateful to have that day to really focus on students as individuals. The other thing that we're excited to do this year, and I think is going to really help set the tone for success, is that we wanted to make sure that we were having regular times to check in with families. So we are going to be structuring on Fridays regular family conference check-ins. We will, at least once a month, you will have a conference with your teacher. We're also going to be having those on-demand discussions as needed. But even if there's nothing of concern, we find that it's really valuable to check in because we're working in partnership between home and school. And we want to make sure that things are working for you and working for your student. And we can discuss the progress that we're seeing and course correct if there's anything that needs to be adjusted. So Fridays are all about communication and collaboration. And we're looking forward to having this opportunity to build relationships and have that go throughout the year. So even when we return to campus, if your student is one of those to return to campus to learn Monday through Thursday, the structures for Friday will remain the same. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Holly to talk a little bit about middle school learning. And whoops, my slides seem to be possessed. There you go.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm going to call myself out. Michelle has often remarked that I'm a middle school teacher because sometimes I'm not that far off being a middle schooler myself. I totally lost the link to this Zoom, raced down the hall only to have Michelle tell me that it was an invite, raced back to my computer, realized I hadn't actually pressed yes to the invite, so then jumped onto Michelle's one, which is why I am Michelle Giacotto as well. I only realized that afterwards. It was like, oops, so totally busted. I will be doing so much more work myself.
It's okay, Holly, it's 2020.
And the other great thing is that occasionally I'll have to do this because my energy efficient lights will turn off as well. So, woohoo! So Thank you for this opportunity to chat. I wanted to talk through the Monday, Thursday schedule. I literally did several distance learning schedules, and I got totally excited by one, only to have several people go, "Why are you doing that?" I was like, "Yeah, you're right. That's the worst decision ever." So the one that we have come up with really builds on what we did last trimester, last school year. And what was really successful about last school year is that we pivoted when we got the feedback from both the teachers and the students. So I've used that and then taken everything that I have learnt and learnt, the teachers have learnt and learnt with the administrators, and built this schedule. And I want to say that the best practice I can tell you is that myself and my middle school team will continually tweak this. That's what we did last year, and it worked. We will continually get the feedback like a good learner, and actually make sure that we are trying to make this work for as many, for all the students. So we will start the day with a grade level meeting. We did that last time, and it was great. This time it will be different staff who have that grade level meeting, and it'll be for the whole year. So this is about all the grade coming together and actually having that social instruction. We will be doing a block schedule, and what a block schedule means is that students won't have every subject every day. We did that initially at the beginning of when we went to distance learning, and kids were overwhelmed. And in fact, the feedback I got from kids exiting out in 8th grade said actually they liked that not every subject was every day. It gave them time to process the information, to really think about it. With the exception of, so science, history and English will actually be either Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. So they'll be on different days, with the exception of mathematics and Spanish. And we're going to have daily instructions of those. And the reasons are that we know that you need to be hitting those skill sets every day. So they will be shorter periods, but they will be daily. In those longer block sessions of science, history and English, we will have all group instruction, and mirroring a little bit like the lower school, they then will actually have smaller instructions in that time period. This is one to actually have more teacher be able to differentiate in there, as well as to actually build study groups. If you think about when you go to university, you have a study group. So there might be 4 or 5 kids on there working simultaneously and chatting like you would. So a lot of this is about developing that social connectivity. We will have movement and wellness breaks because, again, we want to ensure that kids are moving. I told Lauren this the other day, I am a very wiggly person. I'm a theatre teacher by training. I've spent most of my career sitting, lying on the floor. So sitting in front of a computer is really challenging for me. So we want to make sure we're putting in those movement breaks and those wellness breaks. We are doing enrichment classes. So last year when we went, to continue the explorations is really difficult. I don't know how we do it. We had built them so much about being on campus. We know that these enrichment exploration classes are really important. So students are going to have them, but they're going to be grade level ones, and every child is going to take it. I'm excited because I'm going to be doing a theatre-based one. So theatre film-based one, and I'm going to be starting with the 7th grade. Totally excited, totally terrified all at the same time. I've never taught theatre via this means, but it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be great. And then mixed grade level learning in those explorations. I'll say that. So the grade levels will also be, at this point in distance learning, pretty much like we used to do. I will not just have one cohort of groups. What I've always done is that, math and Spanish will be a block, and you'll be in the class with those kids. And then history, English is a block, and so I'll swap kids. So because we're distance learning, we can actually try and maximize the amount of social opportunities that the kids have. Once we go back to on campus, then that will have to shift to cohorts. But if we set up these routines in terms of, kids being social connections and bubble, online kind of study groups, they can continue on. So they can continue on whether or not you're at home or at school. Great. So here is an example of a schedule. So here is the distance learning schedule. And I know this looks overwhelming and you're probably racing to see 6th, 7th and 8th. This is Monday, Wednesday, and then it just sort of flips for Tuesday, Thursday. So everyone starts at 6 o'clock, not everyone starts at 6 o'clock, at 9 o'clock in the morning with a 20-minute meeting. So everyone logs on. I've been talking to staff about activities, engage. It's a great way to check in because we can actually have a look at kids and actually see them and see how they're travelling. So if there's any concerns, staff can reach out to me. If students are not there, then I can reach out to those kids. Then the day begins. So the first block is actually a 90-minute block. Now they're not going to be in front of the computer for all that 90 minutes, even if they're doing math and science, Spanish, sorry. I've at least put a 5-minute gap so that they can stand up, move, get a glass of water, all of that sort of stuff. I'll start with the bigger blocks. So the idea of these subjects is to go deeper. And, class, they're all history, science, English. They're ones where you actually have class discussions or big projects or science experiments that we want. So the idea of those would be that we start with a whole class instruction and then we have these breakout group times. These are the study groups. So breakout 1, the teacher would jump in and, talk them through, differentiate, ask any questions, have a smaller group study. Breakout 2 group will be working on their own things, and then this teacher will jump in with them. With Spanish and mathematics, again, they'll be doing the content. There's a gap so they can jump out and actually have that conversation. And same with health and wellness. So there's the enrichment class, which will be either art, computer science, or theatre, and then the health and wellness, and that's blocked against the English. We have breaks, second period, another lunch break, and then we end the day at 3 p.m. And as Michelle said, and I'm saying this to all my staff, there is no such thing as homework anymore. There's synchronous work and asynchronous work. That's the reality. I don't want to use the word homework. I think that, in this day and age, we can shift past that. So what teachers will be doing is that all work should be completed in that time. At 3 o'clock, I want them to shut their computers, and the only work that we are going to actually ask them to do is some light reading of a book in the evening. No working all day to 3 p.m. and then continuing on afterwards. So the idea is that, yes, it's a longish day, but there's opportunities to actually be working in that time, to have teacher be able to give direct feedback, which we know is, best practice learning anyway. And then at 3 o'clock, computers are shut. We want kids outside doing other things. So Friday learning is different. Friday's learning is both asynchronous and synchronous, meaning we will have some together classes and some other together classes. There will be teacher office hours, so teachers can request actually certain students. It's you need to come and speak to me here. Let's find this time so we can work through this. And students can actually access their teachers. The only day that I'm asking staff to actually give more asynchronous work, so, that traditional homework, is this Friday. So students will be able to if they get stuck, go, oh, I have this block of time where my teacher is available. I'm going to jump on and actually ask that question. This is where we're doing explorations. And an exploration is really a true exploration where it's a topic of interest that students will join a group and together they will immerse themselves in that subject. Lauren has jumped in and is going to run an exploration. I'm going to do one. I've decided that I'm going to do my kind of passion, well, not passion, but something I've always loved is astronomy. So I'm going to offer an exploration on astronomy. So those kids who always look up the stars and go, wow, I'd love to learn more about, we're going to get together, and as a group, I'm going to model it, because I'm not an expert in astronomy in any way, shape, form. I'm going to bring things to the group, and hopefully as the group kind of gets together, they're going to bring things, and the aim is at the end of it, we're going to actually be able to share out, well, we're going to be sharing out every week in these whole middle school community share outs, what we've actually learned, what we've discovered as a group. So I'm super excited by that. So if we have a look at, oh, is my schedule not there? Oh, there it. I obviously hit another button. I'm not the most technical savvy person.
Just dramatic effect, that's all.
Yeah, dun, 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 of course, drama teacher. So if you have a look, the day starts with asynchronous wellness hour. We will be putting up things for kids to actually do, go for a walk, all that. This is actually the chance that my faculty and I are actually going to be meeting so that we can reflect every week on what is working, what is not, how do we improve. And then if you can see, depending on the grade, there's office hours where 8th graders can have access to their teachers. There's an independent study where like the staff have actually set the work. And then there is a synchronous class with which is health and wellness. And this is really genuinely health and wellness, where we're going to be giving them skills, techniques, all sorts of things, and how to navigate. Then we have a break, and then from 12 to 1 is when we do this exploration. This is synchronous. All the kids will jump in with their exploration teacher, and for an hour we're going to delve into whatever topics we are doing. And then at the end of that, we're having a community meeting and a share out. Each exploration group will share out, as well as this is our place, just like a normal middle school meeting, where we would actually, you know, share out, build, do our community events. So I'm super excited by this day. In fact, I'm super excited by what COVID is giving us the chance to rethink how we do and learn. Schools, and if you're a school person, most of what traditional schools were actually a Ford factory model. This is shattering it. And the one thing I'm saying to my staff is we are never going back to what we had. We shouldn't. This is a teachable moment. There is some great things about distance learning. I've seen some kids just totally turn around. It was like, whoa. We have to take, when we do go back to this, we have to take the things that we love and mirror it with the other things that we love from that traditional school. And any school that just stays stagnant and says, we'll survive and paddle and then go back to normal is not learning from this. What I love about this team is we're all learners. We're all ready to go, great. Let's throw out what's not working and let's try the new things. And this will be a really innovative program.
Thank you, both Michelle and Holly. As you can tell, quite a bit of thought and process and rethought and evaluation and collaboration has gone into every single aspect of our planning for the fall for distance learning and for in-person learning when and if that is an option. Just to reiterate a few key points, I could not be prouder of this team. You are at a school that is not talking about how do we get through this year. That has not been uttered out of our mouths. We want to use this as the ultimate reset. It's much harder this way. It's much harder to tell your staff, we're taking this a trimester at a time. If we get feedback 3 weeks in, it's not working, we're changing. Those are really hard mindsets. We've had really in-depth conversations with everyone to say, are you there? Are you on board with us? This is where we are going. And it's been unanimously felt with a yes. This is what we've been wanting. This is exciting. I've been a teacher for years. This is reinvigorating. And I couldn't be more excited to face a really challenging year that we know is really challenging and use it as a learning experience. And that's been really amazing. As we start getting closer to school, we'll share a little more details of what those questions that we're asking will be. We are asking ourselves to know not only what we're teaching, but why. And not only, we want our kids to exit out of this year with knowing not only what they learned, but why they learned it. And if we can't answer the why from both a teacher standpoint and a student standpoint, then our experiment this year failed. To be totally honest, it's about the why. It's about digging in. It's about going deep, collaboration, communication, and connectivity. And that is really the theme of the year. And we couldn't be more excited. So please, if you have any questions that were not answered tonight, please reach out to all of us. We're readily available. We're here. Really, really read the Sunday waves, especially the next two, the two prior to school starting. You're going to find all the information. You're going to find all of the links for all of this. Really try to make an effort to have your kids join in the Meet the Teacher. They have probably developed, I know my kids have, especially being new at a school, developed a little bit of anxiety about coming back and it being so different, seeing everyone on a screen. So you really are our partners. I can tell you there are two things that my kids, and I've told actually all of your kids except 7th and 8th graders, there are two things my kids have mastered this summer, and they are 5 and 7. They've mastered procrastination and they have mastered the art of negotiation. And so my husband and I are talking about other things that we hope we can instill in helping them master in the next 2 weeks as we are, as parents, get our family kind of re-geared up for distance learning, and get our house ready and know that routines are really important, and probably my kids shouldn't be in pajamas till 2. All of those things that we all as parents have happened over the summer. And if you're a parent that has a super organized schedule and your kids get up like this and they make their bed and they do everything, I don't judge you, but I don't want to hear it, because that is not my household right now. Just kidding. Good for you. That's amazing. But anyway, so what we need from you is a few things. We need you to read the waves, because we need you to be in the know what's going on, not miss the opportunity. We need you to share the enthusiasm. No matter how many slide decks we make, and even though we are honest to goodness enthusiastic about this year, it's not ideal. It is not ideal. So please help share that enthusiasm at home with your kids. It is back to school. They will get to see their friends. They'll get to be with another adult that is not you. Hallelujah. Reach out. If you have a question, ask us. We have the answers. So please reach out. Is math this way? Are my kids, how much screen time? Is there this? Is there that? Reach out directly to us. We are here. That is our job. We are here to answer all of your questions that you may have. So besides that, enjoy the last week or so until summer is over. I know it is very bittersweet, and we will see you real soon.